What of the stories you tell yourself or the prison keeping you stuck? In this conversation, you'll hear how trauma, addiction, and the loss don't have to define you and how you can finally live beyond your story mind. Hi, and welcome to the U World Order Showcase podcast, where we feature life, health, transformational coaches, and spiritual entrepreneurs stepping up to be the change they seek in the world. I'm your host, Jill Hart, the Coach's Alchemist, on a mission to help coaches and entrepreneurs. El- amplify their voice, monetize their mission, and get visible leveraging podcasts and Substack. Today we're chatting with Dallas Callas. Dallas is a 16-hour coach and self-proclaimed emotional baggage handler. After a year that brought cancer, the loss of his wife, home, business, and family, Dallas faced the choice between dying a suicidal alcoholic or starting over at 60. He chose to rebuild. Now he guides others to discover that they are stronger than they know and that it is never too late to create a new chapter. Through his coaching and his book, The Gift is the Present, Dallas helps people move beyond trauma, addiction, and limiting beliefs to reclaim their power and live fully. Welcome to the show, Dallas. It's great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me, Jill. It's great to be here.
So let's ask you the big question. What's the most significant thing, in your opinion, as individuals we can do to make an impact on how the world is going?
Live our purpose.
I like that.
Now, what is it? Because we all know it. We live in a world where everybody talks about finding your meaning and purpose. Well, I believe we already know, every one of us, and it's all the same. Let's see if we can have an agreement here, Jill.
Okay.
What does every person in the world, what is their destination? What do they want to get to? Ask any parent, what do they want for their child? And after
Live the best life.
Yeah, after doctor, lawyer, whatever, they'll say, I just want them to be healthy and happy. Well, I think that every person, all 8 billion of us, are searching for a place to feel healthy and happy, calm, loving, peace of mind. That's all we want. Would you agree?
I do agree.
I think that's what we are naturally.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is unnatural. And I call it the story mind. If you look into a brand new baby's face, you and every other human sees the same thing. They see beauty, love, and happiness. That's it. They don't see a story. They don't see baggage. They don't see pain and suffering. They don't see some history of experience. It's just that being. Well, my mother died 4 months ago, and I looked into her face 2 hours before she died. I saw the same as the baby's face. I saw beauty, love, and I felt happiness for a life lived. Not fear and insecurity and pain and loss and grief, because those are creations of a story, of belief. What we are is that baby and that dying mother. And in between, what happens to us? We become a story. You're a story. I'm a story. If I met you in real life right now, and I said, nice to meet you, Jill, tell me something about yourself, you would begin telling me some of your story. We don't talk about the baby and the mother. We talk about the story that fills the in-between we call our life. What we talk about is a movie of us. Everything that happens to us from the time we're tiny children right through to what's happening right now are parts of this story that we self-identify as. That's me, the stuff from yesterday. We are historical creatures. It is everything that has happened to us that makes us who we are in this moment. And we fully believe in the story is us. So when I'm traumatized as a child and bullied and abused psychologically and physically, I carry that baggage as a part of me. It becomes something I identify with and as. I identify as the pain, the suffering, the anger, the frustration, and I carry that. We call it emotional baggage. Every human being carries some. I believe that birth itself may be the initial trauma of life, and it brews us in fear and insecurity. Everything we do throughout our life, you can trace back to some fear or some insecurity. And we're trying to find a better security. We're trying to relieve some fear. And we call it getting happy by, I'll buy something. And it will relieve this tension or insecurity and make me happier. I will fall in love with the right person. We're always achieving and reaching outside of ourselves. Well, I call it an addiction, all of that. Because we all come to the first addiction. We all have the same one. It's called blame. I blamed the school. I blamed the church. I blamed scout leaders and camp counselors. Then I blamed friends. Then I blamed my boss. I blamed my kids, my wife. I blame the environment. I blame the culture. I blame the economy and the politics. Some people go their whole life just blaming the outside world for what? For their fears and insecurity, for their baggage, because we don't want to face it. And so all addiction gives us a safety, a defense against it. So we don't have to run up against this true pain that is inside of us, our real self. You know, in between the beginning and the end, the story is what keeps us in the external world. Everything's out there. If I just do this, it'll be better. If I just get this, it'll be better. If I achieve this, it'll be better. If I win, it'll be better. If I'm a success, it'll be better. Everything is out there. And we live in this story mind. Well, I got lucky, really lucky. I woke up one morning and I had cancer in the middle of a pandemic. Best day of my life. Over the next 12 months, I went through treatment, surgery, radiation. My wife and I split. I lost the house. I lost our business. I lost my family in any way you can see a family. And I ended up broken and alcoholic and suicidal, all in 12 months during a pandemic. Best year of my life, because it burned my story to the ground. And I had to look at it and go, what did it mean? And right at that moment, one evening making dinner, a podcast playing in the background, and a man on the podcast is talking about consciousness. Fluffy, woo-woo stuff that I had no interest in. But I heard him say one line, and it dropped me to my knees. He said, "Show me yesterday." That was it. My rational brain had to look at my life, my story, and go, where is it? What is yesterday? My whole life was yesterday. Everything about me is what I've been through. I can't go to a cupboard and pull yesterday out and go, look, Jill, what do you think of yesterday? There is no tangible thing. I'm here with you right now. It's tangible. It's happening. This is a moment.
It's not actually even happening.
Well,
We don't actually exist.
we can get there.
We're having a space. We're having a shared experience.
Yeah.
In a space that doesn't exist.
Right. But that's what led this whole thing, because when I couldn't tangibly say, here's yesterday, well, what did it mean? It meant I believed in a story. A story I believed it was so true, it almost killed me. And I thought, hold it a second. 50 years ago, I might have been abused. That happened. It was a moment in time. Physical reality took place. How did it get here? Did someone walk behind me holding it in their hands going, I'm coming, it's right here? No. How did it get here? Well, of course, I brought it. I'm the one who took the trauma, gave it meaning, implanted feeling, and so I lived in this pain of it. I put it in a bag, threw it over my shoulder, and started walking in life. And when I find there is no reality to yesterday, only a memory, my God, I can just put the bag down. I own
Change
it now.
the memory.
I own it now, so I can put it down. When I was blaming someone for having hurt me, I didn't own it, so I couldn't put it down. As soon as it was mine, I went, oh, so I don't have to carry it. This is amazing. I put it down. The pain went away. The addiction was no longer needed. The bottle went away. My happiness just exploded. because I wasn't carrying all that garbage. There was no reason for it. I was just convinced, not only by my own story mind, but the collective story mind, the world we live in. So let's bring this to a horrible piece of reality from yesterday's news, where someone is assassinated because of someone's story. They believed in their mind a pain, an anger, a suffering, an us against them. This is fear and insecurity. We have killed 100 million of our brothers and sisters in the last 100 years because collectively we have believed in stories that made us join armies and go to war. Just a story no different than the story that brings me to the edge of suicide, or any other person to addiction or suicide or trauma. It's all the same. And we're taught since children that somehow this complicated world is all about difference. Us and them, right and wrong, good and bad, evil. All of these pieces, they are just scripts. They are a story. They're played out every day on Netflix. They're played out every year in blockbuster movies. They're the same story. We are all the same story in this conscious reality that we're not attuned to. Instead, we're attuned to the story. And the reality of us is that baby and that mother's face, beginning and end of life. And we have gotten lost in this drama in between. And we've taken it so real to us. Because from the time we're children, we're told to look out into the world, achieve, pass the grade, pass the test, get to the next one, graduate, get a car, get a house, get a wife, have kids, raise a family. It's all external. We are never told to turn the mirror around and say, no, no, no. When we're deepest in love, it's internal, not external. It's my love that makes it work, not someone loving me. It's my happiness that gets exposed, not something or someone making me happy. We don't turn the mirror and look at ourselves. We're constantly pushing it away and saying it's the outside world. And so we get horrific scenes like we saw yesterday. You know, every leader in the world today, from Trump to Putin to anyone, they're all hurting. They're all in pain. They all want to be loved and recognized and supported, just like anyone else. They believe in a story that hurts themselves. They're fighting their ego. Everyone is. But the more we can bring it to a rational thought that this is belief. You believed things 10 years ago that you don't believe today. You will believe things in 10 years you probably don't believe today. So what is the truth of a belief? Of course, there isn't. It is just us attaching to it in the moment. And it is purely our ability to detach from those things and see a greater reality, our conscious spirit, that we are beauty and love and happiness, that Jill is the most important person on planet Earth. Because if she wasn't here, there wouldn't be a planet Earth. If she wasn't here, there wouldn't be love. There wouldn't be beauty because she wouldn't know of it. All 8 billion of us are the most important person. We're all trying to cook the same dish of love and beauty and happiness. We just get lost in the differences and we poke at them. And that's fear and insecurity. So my story is quite simple. It's just to wake up to our reality and know that we are the same person. We are this love, beauty, and happiness. And we're just to share it. That's all we need to do. That's all life needs to be.
How do you think novelty plays into all of this?
Yeah.
You're talking about consciousness. There's several things that I want to address with what you've said. And one of them is novelty, because I think that the consciousness explores novelty through our lives. We're all connected to consciousness, but we all exist as individuals. And then I have a thought about the stories that we tell ourselves. And you were talking about the bag over your shoulders, and it came to me that we often like to take that bag down and rummage around in it
Oh, yeah.
rather than put it down, which is just thinking about the thoughts that we're having that aren't serving us and telling ourselves the stories over and over again. And memories change. Every time you tell that story to yourself, it changes slightly. And
Yep.
no two people experience the same event the same way. So,
Absolutely.
you know, and it's often two people or more are involved in a situation, and they come away from it having different experiences with it, which goes back to the novelty piece. But we have a lot more power to affect how our lives are going than we give ourselves credit for.
And it's waking up to the evidence you just showed, because the evidence says it's not real. If it were real and singular,
Mhm.
all of us would have seen the same thing when we saw the same event.
Good.
We don't, because it is not real or singular. It is our experience. And so when people go, it's not all in my mind, damn it, you're blaming the victim, I say, well, there's a reality that it is all in our minds, because where else could it be? Did it come from your foot, your hand, your shoulder? No, no. All of this is thought by us. And I don't think it's thinking. I separate thinking from thought. Thinking is the toolbox brain, the rational, the logical. We learn skills and tools. It's the app store for living, from driving a car to cooking a meal to looking after our kids to doing our job. That's the brain. That's thinking. Thought is the arising out of story. That's the subconscious that I drop my mug of coffee in the morning and this voice jumps in my head and goes, you dummy, you always do that. You're such an idiot. Who the hell is that? That is the story mind. That is the ego, the deception that makes us rummage around in, oh, yeah, you're right, I am an idiot. That's looking in that baggage that keeps the story alive. Because if you don't entertain thoughts, thoughts vanish. They have no strength on their own. You have to attach to them and say, oh, that's me. That's my baby. And so I caress it and say, yep, that's who I am. And people say, I can't change who I am. That's just the way I am. That's
That's a
attachment to
lie.
the thought of the story, not the thinking rational brain. Because almost everyone I work with, when we come to those moments, I'll say, okay, let's turn on the rational brain for a second. Does this make sense? None of them ever say it makes sense. They all know right away it's silly. And then they'll say, but I just can't help myself. That's the story. That's the ego deceiver. And we have to attach and take ownership of the thought. And then it becomes a spiral, and down we go, negativity and stewing and brewing and getting upset and in arguments and all these things based on a deception. No rational
Thinking
brain
of
is being used.
thinking about what you're thinking about.
Yeah,
Dangerous process.
yeah. I say, are you a thinker or a thoughter? Do you have thoughts or do you have thinks?
I have I have thoughts. I have things that flutter through my mind, and
That's right.
I look at them and I will think,
Mhm.
not I will think about my thought,
There you
and
go.
I will decide, is this worth exploring, or is this just going to steal my peace?
And that's called awareness.
Yes.
To be
And once you
able,
get there, it's like a
yeah.
whole different world.
See, most people, the biggest problem is the thought comes up and they don't use their awareness because they recognize the thought as themselves.
Mhm.
It's only the brain in awareness can say, hold it a second. Is that thought real? That's not helping you. In fact, that's going to hurt you or hurt someone you think you love. Oh, yeah, you're right. There's awareness. And that's the whole therapy, if you want to call it. That's the whole healing, if you want to call it. That's the awakening. Just simply to be able to be attentive enough to your thoughts, to see them, and then have the brain show up and say, is that good for you? Nah, okay, forget it. And walk away. And that's the story mind. Walk away. Who needs a story? We don't need a story. We're here alive right now, you and I. We're loving, beautiful human beings. That's life. What's the story? Some history? Who cares? It has no meaning. People living in history live in pain. People living in history shoot other people for their views. I wrote this morning on Facebook. I said, freedom of speech exposes our fears and insecurities. Because that's just what we saw yesterday. It's exactly what we saw. And every time we kill, we hurt in argument, in struggle, in love. It's the same thing. And we are most afraid of our internal free speech with ourselves. Because when we speak freely, it's called honesty. And if we're honest between that brain and that thought, between real us and a story, we get scared. So we don't want free speech in ourselves. And I think this is the reason we see the danger in public. It's exposing truths that make us have to think about it and not just accept the thought. And we're in struggle there because there's such fear and insecurity in the basement of all our houses.
I think there's so much lying that goes on and
Yeah,
people's inability to see what is what is the rational
right.
explanation for what happened rather
Yeah,
than it's easy to just be polarized or say, they deserved it or they didn't deserve it, or to have other discussions about the social implications of it. But
right.
it's a lot of it is just that we don't, we're lied to so much that we've lost the ability to think, does this make sense? And to trust our intuition when our intuition says, That's probably not all of the story. I don't have all of the facts." And then everybody rushes out to have like a part in the conversation. It's like, maybe we should just be quiet for a minute and
We all
see.
want to be on stage. We all want to be heard and seen. This whole discussion of being heard and being seen, to me, it's just silly. That's identity. That's ego. I'm special. I need you to see that I'm special. No, I don't. I'm loving and happy and healthy and human. I don't need you to see I'm special. That is pure ego and want. And this is all based in this blame. We blame the outside. That is the arguing and everything. And we are in this boat, when you just mentioned that, why it's so pervasive. Well, the collective story is addicted to blame. It is constantly saying the other is at fault. So it's an immigrant, or it's a different colored skin, or it's a different accent, it's a different food, it's different, different, different. You're wrong, I'm right. Fear and insecurity. We are incredibly simple beings trying to pretend we're on a complex stage, a huge theater and movie and all these parts. And the reality is no. When you pick up your child and hug them in your arms, that's life. There is no more complication. That's it. We don't have to keep searching for all this food that is feeding what? The ego. The sense that we're not good enough, that somehow we're not worth enough, that somehow I must be in judgment and comparison and live up to some standard. No, you already won. You're a beautiful, loving human being. You won the whole thing. You got the trophy. Enjoy this beautiful, loving now. Stay out of your memories and the past. Stay out of the future and the fantasy of what if tomorrow. Just be here. Be awake. Be aware. That's all you need. I always say to people, we learned this secret in grade 1, the first day of school, and we all missed it. Even the teacher missed it, and they gave us the secret. What happens? We're sitting in our chairs that first day of school, and everybody can feel that excitement and fear and insecurity and, oh my God, the first day and all the noise and all the kids. And our teacher walks to the front of the class. And what happens? Attention, class. Attention. Jill, present. Dallas, present. We were just given the secret to life. Be in attention. Be in attention and be present. It was the secret to life right there. For people who are religious, I say Jesus gave you all the secret to life in one little statement. The disciples go to him and say, how do we gain these heights? How do we become these great human beings like you? How do we follow you? Jesus didn't say, well, you have to have goals and you have to grind and you've got to have dreams and you need a nice car, a hot chick, and maybe a Lamborghini in the driveway. He didn't say that. He said, you are the light of the world. We won. We're already here. Love yourself and each other in this moment. And that's all there is. Everything else is fear and insecurity created in your mind. Every pain, every drama, every anxiety, everything is just that creation in a story you believe. It's not true.
And it's not going to make any difference when you're gone.
No.
And I'm sure that Kirk didn't wake up yesterday morning thinking this is my last day on the planet.
Of course not. And isn't it funny? I was saying to someone this morning, we were talking about this, and I've watched about 5 or 6 podcasts this morning, and everybody rest in peace. And I think, wow, wouldn't that be great if we taught ourselves to rest in peace now?
Now.
To die from the story now and rest in peace. That is the whole show. And yet we live in a society that says work for 50, 60 years, get to retirement so you can do what? Rest in peace. The thing we all want, the thing we are, that is covered up and obfuscated by this massive drama we call our life, is always there waiting for us at every moment. And we all experience those moments of awe, looking at a night sky or a beautiful vista when you're on a hike. And you just have this moment of just, nothing. Not a thought, not a worry, just for a second. That is what is always right behind you. That is the blue sky instead of staring at the clouds all day. It's always there for everyone. It's not special. There's no work to be done. It's right there. Just be present, in attention, be awake. I know it sounds silly in a way, the ease of it. And, I went through hell and almost ended my life for it to open the door and see how simple it was. And there was a moment when I thought, I just wasted all those years living like that and almost killing myself. And it was this simple? You've got to be kidding me. And people find this all the time in their life. They'll have some big traumatic situation. They've got to make a hard decision and get through it. And every time, as soon as you make it and you take that one step away, you turn around and go, that was it? It was that easy? That final moment to end something, to quit drinking, to end the marriage, all sorts of dramatic, difficult things. The moment they happen, there's this sudden clarity of, that's it? That's all it was?
Kind of a release.
Yeah.
It's like a burden gets lifted off of you.
Putting down that bag,
yeah,
that
you,
weight.
it's palpable.
Yes.
Once you get through that decision process and your current present becomes less encumbered, it, it's it opens the door to possibilities. When you
Uh,
hang on to the past or you hang on to situations because you're supposed to, and all the while you're struggling with it doesn't feel right. And it's
yes.
not to say that others are bad or good because
No,
nobody's
no.
all anything. And it's not, it's just that in the present that you're experiencing now, this situation isn't serving you anymore. And if it's not serving you, it's not serving them either.
Exactly. I mean, you can look from, you know, obesity, the sort of sedentary brain fog, always tired, the massive increase in mental health awareness of young people, being diagnosed left and right with new disorders, the spectrum of life,
Mhm.
not just a mental disorder. All these things are a weight, a physical presence in our bodies. And they are the buildup of a story that's gaining more and more speed and becoming so pervasive around the world. Everyone worrying about other countries, other peoples, their own, their life, their family, just constant until the weight is dragging everyone down.
It's
And
anxiety. We call it anxiety, but
yeah,
it's global and it's destroying our
it's
relationship with each other and ourselves.
we're carrying heavy baggage that's weighing us down physically and
Mhm,
so mentally.
mhm.
I say you come to it. Well, I came to a place where I realized it was wantlessness and needlessness creates weightlessness and so happiness.
Mhm.
I don't have wanting something. I don't need something. Yeah, based on, I have clothing, I have a roof over my head, and I have food. I have no other want or need. So there's this incredible weightless feeling in my body and mind because of the simplicity of life. And all of a sudden, it's just all you find is happiness. Because the unhappiness was carrying that weight, that want, perceived need, all these baggage, all these worries about, like you said, anxiety, tomorrow, or trauma, the
Lack.
past. You get out of the tomorrow and yesterday, and holy crap, today is wonderful.
You can just be grateful.
Yeah,
And people say, oh, it's too easy, but gratitude, it changes your body chemically and it allows you to experience happiness.
yeah.
They go hand in hand. You can't be happy unless you're grateful
I
for the
use the word
situation you're in.
I use the word appreciation, not
Mhm.
grateful.
Yeah.
Grateful to me has one little piece of baggage, and it means external.
Mhm.
I'm grateful because of something. And I try to not attach to anything external. So I say I
Mhm.
appreciate what I
Yeah,
have,
I
where
like
I
that.
am, what it is, what life is, what you are. I appreciate it. I'm not grateful for it because it's
Mhm.
not something I have to have, right?
Right.
That's a little distinction, but for me, that's
I
really
like the
important.
distinction actually. Words have meanings and
Yeah,
I actually appreciate the distinction.
nice. So there you go. It's simple. Let's all just love each other and carry on.
Problem solved. But if it's not quite solved for you, people can hire you to help them get all their baggage sorted and dropped off
Well,
at the
you know, I
local.
never say that I can't teach. I can't
Coaching
fix.
is different than
I
teaching.
can't fix anyone. All we do, you're doing it right now,
Mhm.
is helping people maybe just see a different picture, believe another possibility, be aware, examine the thought. And that's all it is just trying to throw little pieces of light that might meet with you and go, oh, hey, that made sense. That one line from that podcast changed my life because it made me, my rational brain, hit the awareness button and go, wow. So it can be the tiniest thing that changes us, Often at podcasts, at the end, a podcaster will say to me, I have this question I ask everyone. If you could go back to your 12-year-old self, what would you tell them? I'd always say nothing because I wouldn't have listened. There's nothing you're going to say, you know what I mean? So it can be just this tiny flicker, this little spark that can just inflame someone, and wow, positive or negative. We see this every day. So I don't teach, I just try to do that. Throwing out little flickers of flame and going, does this make it? Does this work? Does this resonate? I want to change and say, I'm not a coach, I'm a resonator. And so I just throw out these bits, and if it resonates, bing, we click, we start talking. We go down a path together. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. You need to talk to someone else, or you don't. Who else? That's you. So I try and keep it as light as that because I don't go looking for a client. You have to be searching to want to find that little bit of light that lights you up. No one can just bring it to you and go, hey, knock on your door. Excuse me, here it is. It just doesn't work. You've got to be looking. You've got to know something's wrong with that baggage. I really would like to put it down. I need to find what's going on. Something has to be poking you and pushing you. And a lot of people, like you say, they get comfortable just rummaging around in the bag and going, oh, yeah, it's scary, but that's me. And then put it back over their shoulder again and forget it. So, that's an amazing ability humans have. We can live in an amazing level of pain and suffering and just keep going. Because we are tough. We are resilient in a terrible way. We shouldn't be resilient and tough. We should say, no way.
Often people that are resilient and tough end up sick.
Yes.
Because it's our body's way of saying, hey, I've been trying to get your attention, but you're ignoring the awareness piece. So here.
One of the biggest struggles I have is with depression. Because people feel it is an illness and it is a deep, dark space. I have had depression before I got cancer. And for me, I now see it as, no, it's not an illness. It was a wake-up call. It was all that baggage being suppressed, driven down into my body, and my body went, oh my God, it's this empty black hole. It's the worst feeling of your life because it suppresses feelings. Mm-hmm. You don't feel anything. And we are beings of what? We experience and feel. Everything that makes us happy, sad, any emotion is based on feeling. So when depression suppresses feeling, it's like a horror movie inside of yourself. And that's where we get lost. And I say that is the big wake up. I'm giving you a space. I don't want you to hurt yourself anymore, so I'm suppressing it all to try and get you to see what's happening. That's a hard argument, I'll tell you. That's a tough one because people are so bought in to a story that I think we have mistakenly, through psychology, through therapy, called you a broken part. Said to you there's something wrong with you, and it's not. There's nothing wrong with anyone. This is a good thing.
A lot of it's just to sell drugs.
Absolutely. I mean, there's over 60 million Americans right now who believe they are diagnosed with a brain chemical imbalance. Did you know that?
I just insane to me.
Medical science has no way of measuring what? Brain chemicals.
I don't know how the brain works for the most part.
And we diagnose people. And I talk to people all the time and they'll tell me, oh, I have a brain chemical imbalance. I go, really? Who told you? Oh, my doctor said so. Oh, good. Tell me about the test you took. Do you have a readout? I'd love to see it. Well, all of a sudden, there's no test. There's no readout.
Or where did your doctor go to college and or
Never
medical
happened.
school? Or where did they place in the class? I mean,
It's
how
made up.
smart is this person that you're trusting your life with? Because
Even
every time you
doctors and
take those
scientists,
chemicals,
even doctors and scientists live inside stories
mhm,
in their own profession that they have to meet and fit in with their tribe in their story. Don't think there's something different because we hold them as experts. We all do it. We all live in stories. One of our stories is the doctor's right. And so we believe the story the doctor tells us. And we tell that story to others. Sit down with people, especially as they get older, and they're all talking about their ailments and what the doctors told them. And it's hysterical to listen to me now, because I'm outside this story going, oh, I wish you'd all wake up. You're
yeah.
doing this to yourself.
If you want to live a long, healthy life, don't go to the doctor unless you
And
like
don't
broke something.
and don't believe your crap.
And don't believe your crap. As Marissa Peer says, tell yourself a better lie because they're all lies.
There you go. Friend of mine, myself and a friend drank every day for 15 years at the same pub.
Mm-hmm.
He ended up going down to the streets and fentanyl, and we've seen the zombies on the streets today, homeless, just a wreck. I assumed he died.
Mm-hmm.
I went through my year of life collapse. I'm sure he thought I died.
Mm-hmm.
I walk into a coffee shop a little while back, and there he is sitting in the corner reading a book, enjoying a coffee like any other person alive. And I'm stunned. I go over and, well, tell me, what happened? A preacher on the street caught his attention. He ended up going to meetings, joining a church, believing in God. His addiction went away. His disorders evaporated. He's happy and healthy. He would say, I was saved. He was saved not by religion. He was saved by a better story. That's all. We all live in stories, whether it's religious or political or economic or social standing. We all just live in stories. When you have a crappy story, you've got two choices. Make a better story or forget the story and leave it. That's it. You don't heal, you leave. You can't
Yeah.
fix my trauma that happened 50 years ago. I left it. I didn't heal. I didn't heal my addictions. I left them because I didn't need the pain, so I didn't need the medication to cover the pain. It's that simple. And we're afraid to take that responsibility, that pure, radical self-responsibility to say, I have done this to myself. Yes, I got hurt 50 years ago, but it ended then. Why should I let it go on? Because I do it to myself. That radical responsibility, that lack of blame will open the door, will turn on the lights, will wake you up because you are left with you. And it's okay. You're just fine. And you're stronger than you think. You can get through any of this stuff. You're okay.
There was that book back in the 70s. I'm okay, you're okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a big one.
It was a big one.
I think that was based on TM, Transcendental Meditation. It came out of that school.
Did it?
Yeah. It was
I remember
huge
being
in the early 70s. Just huge.
there's something to meditation. And it's different for everybody, and there's like different ways of doing it, but it's a powerful way to allow your brain to like connect to each hemisphere and to get your conscious thinking thoughts out of the way and to allow you to think about your thoughts and move them aside and recognize, oh, that's just a thought versus this is my story that I'm going to have to rummage around again, or the conversations that you have with people that you'll never really have with those people.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, that's exactly what it does. It turns off the story for a moment
Mhm,
so they can see clearly.
mhm,
For me, it never worked because I felt it was a coping mechanism.
mhm.
I could meditate and I felt good for a moment. But as soon as I stepped out, I was back in my story. So it wasn't healing to me. It was just that, ah, do the breath work, walk in the forest. I do feel better. It does work. Absolutely. But I can't go back to the same position I started. And that's the trick of actually getting out of the story,
Yeah.
disbelieving the past, disbelieving the memory. We don't remember 75% of our lives right now. So why should we assume that 25% we think we remember is the truth? Why would we? I say to people,
Eh, eh,
tell me about your day on Tuesday, December 5th, 2021. Tell me about that day. What did you wear? What did you eat for breakfast? Did you go to work that day? Were you feeling okay? Were you sick? Did you stay home? You can tell me nothing about the day, a whole day that happened, and you have no memory. But you think something that
It
happened 40
happened
years
last
ago.
week.
Yeah, but you think something 40 years ago changed your whole life and you can't put it down. This is just an attachment to a story, to a belief, and we don't have to do it. There's no reality to it. You got a psychic scar? Show me. We've opened up 1,000,000 brains, never seen a psychic scar. Can't find them. They just don't exist.
Mhm. It
We
is
have
so
to
true.
get to that radical place.
So let's tell people how they can find your book.
It's on Amazon. Dallas Callas at gmail.com is my email, and that's about all I do. I say today, if they've got your name, Jill, you can't hide. If anybody wants to search, they're going to find you.
And you're on Substack at dallascullis.substack.com and
Okay.
TikTok and Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
And we will put those links in the show notes to make
Okay.
sure people can find you. Thank you
All right.
so much for joining me, Dallas. This has been a great conversation.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate you and your work.
To learn more about Dallas, visit dallascullis.substack.com or one of his hangouts, TikTok, Facebook, or Instagram. And you can email him to get the link to his book, and I will try to put the link in the show notes as well. If you have a podcast or you're interested in starting one to get your message in front of our huge and active audience, please reach out to us at support@heartlifecoach.com. We love to help spiritual entrepreneurs and coaches amplify their voice and monetize their mission, and offer a variety of ways to do this with Substack. Join us for our next episode as we share what others are doing to raise the global frequency. And remember, change begins with you. You have all the power to change the world. Start today and get visible.